From the Office of Adventist Mission at the Adventist Church World Headquarters, you're watching Mission 360, where we take you around the globe to experience lives, places, and mission. So stay with us as we visit a world of mission. On today's program, we're going to be looking at Adventist volunteer services. You know, the Seventh-day Adventist Church has a rich tradition of volunteer services. People who have gone to various parts of the world, not on a full paid salary, but to go there to serve. And today there are people crisscrossing the globe from different places to other places, from this area to that area, and lives are being touched. But it's not only the people that they're serving who are being blessed. As we talk to volunteers, as we see them in action, we see that their lives are being changed as well. Our guest today is Pastor John Thomas, who is the Director of Adventist Volunteer Services here at the General Conference. And he's talking with Angela and Yali.
Well, thank you so much for being with us, John.
I'm happy to share the volunteer program with you.
Let's get this started by touching the bases. What is Adventist Volunteer Service?
Well, as was mentioned in the introduction, it's the department of the Secretariat at the General Conference, where we provide services for those who are interested in being volunteers and matching them up with institutions, organizations that would like to get volunteers.
Okay.
That's good. And why do people go as volunteers?
Well, there are many reasons. The prime one that gets fed to us all the time is that they have felt an inner urge, either because of former generations being missionaries, or they themselves have felt the calling to go and give of themselves to serve somewhere else in need.
So it sounds like there is a lot of need. What type of jobs are there for volunteers?
This usually comes as a surprise to many people because they're thinking it's only menial type things. But there are about 800 different positions available to volunteers.
Wow.
And they fall in the scope of anybody like a college student with not too much skill to offer, to doctors, dentists, administrators, accountants, you name it, there's a position for a volunteer.
Wow.
Yeah, that sounds really exciting. What's the most favorite type of job that you've seen people volunteer for?
Wow. English teacher in a foreign country is the most common. But when you say most interesting, probably a mission pilot or an obstetrician, a gynecologist, emergency room physician, those are pretty interesting as well.
I see.
And we heard from the introduction that it seems like a global thing. How extensive is this program?
Well, it's worldwide. We have volunteers who come from 70 countries, and they serve in 74 countries. Right today, there are 616 volunteers serving, and over 2012, there were 1,300 volunteers who gave of their services around the world.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And you're saying that a lot of the volunteers, they go out to teach English. Does that mean that most volunteers come from America?
Not really. America used to be the supplier of volunteers. And now we are finding there's a big change in what's happening with the demographics. Volunteers are coming from all other countries of the world. When you talk about English, the places where English is taught very often want a certain kind of accent, and the traditional American accent is popular, but they will take from several other countries around the world. But we are sourcing volunteers now from pretty much everywhere in the whole world.
Oh, wow.
And I love stories. Is there any specific story that you could share about volunteer service?
Well, I'll share one with you from when I was a child, and my reason for doing this is because I want everybody to understand that the volunteer program is not a new thing. It's been going on for a long time. And when I was a young boy, as a missionary child in Tanzania, we had a volunteer come whose name was Lloyd Logan. He came from the US, and he was volunteering his services on several projects with the mission in Tanzania. We admired him as young boys because he could do anything. He even climbed to the top of Kilimanjaro carrying his own pack, a 70-pound pack. He went all over the place exploring by himself, and we were just awed. How could somebody volunteer their services to come way over here and do all these kinds of things? So volunteering has been around in the Adventist Church really from its onset, and is a vibrant program of the church still today.
Wow.
It's so important. Why is that?
So often we think that you can only do something if you get paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
And yet when we look back through the history, even in the Bible, you know, the disciples weren't paid people.
Mm-hmm.
Paul on his missionary journeys didn't draw a salary with benefits. He was taken care of by the communities that he went to serve. And today, the Adventist Church makes available to any age group, 18 to 80, those who feel a calling to go and serve somewhere and are not doing it because they want compensation. They're doing it because they have received the call of Christ in their heart, go and be my missionary, and so they go.
So this is an experience that you would recommend to what type of people?
Well, I would recommend it to anybody who has an interest, because the number one thing we hear from returning student missionaries is this experience changed their life forever. So if you're the type of person who's sitting back saying, boy, I wish I could do something that has some meaning in it beyond what I'm doing. I would like to go somewhere new, experience something, be challenged, have to rely on God. Student Missionary Program, or today known as the Adventist Volunteer Services, will have a spot for you.
I feel a little left out. I never went as a volunteer. I did other things as literature evangelism.
There's still time.
There
you
is.
can still do it.
Up until you're 80.
Up until I'm 80, so okay, there's plenty of time
You
there.
have a little bit of time left.
How can people do this?
They can log on to our website, AdventistVolunteers.org, and there are two links you can click on. One says short term. That's for those who want to go only for a couple of weeks. And if you check on the long-term tab, it will show you all the positions that are open around the world. There are 400 unfilled positions today.
Wow.
That they could look through, and or ones that will open in the future, and decide which one is for them.
Mm-hmm. Is it expensive to become a volunteer? Do you have to come up with some funds or resources up front to go?
It depends on what position they're going to fill. Some positions actually pay their round-trip ticket and give them a stipend to live on and housing. Other positions are fully funded by the volunteer, and it's usually the very remote positions in difficult places of the world, little development, where they have to pay every single bit to go. But those often are the most meaningful in the long term.
I imagine.
And it gives an opportunity even for your church members, for people in your community to help out if you choose to go as a volunteer.
Certainly, your whole church or several churches, family can get behind you to help sponsor you, and then you can feed information back to them about how your experience is going.
Dr. Thomas, it's been a privilege to have you on the program. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
I'm happy to do so.
Well, we've heard about volunteering. Let's travel to Japan to see it in action.
In the country of Japan, 2 Adventist volunteers are using their time and talents to share Jesus' love. Kaeleen Williams left her homeland in Antigua to serve as an English language secretary for the church in Japan. Before coming to Japan, Kaeleen served as a volunteer English language teacher in Russia. Her time as a volunteer changed her life.
Before becoming a missionary, I was a very quiet person, and I never thought that I would be standing up in front of students and different people doing the things that I've been doing, but I've been able to see another side of me that I would not have known existed.
Lisa Takahashi is a Japanese American who teaches English language classes every morning at the local Adventist elementary school. Less than 25% of the students are Adventist. The children love to sing songs about Jesus, and they love Lisa. Although Lisa often buys her lunch from the small stand near the school, Japan is a developed country with modern stores and the latest in high-tech electronics. Yet despite wealth and technology, many people are without hope. In a country of 127 million, very few, less than 1%, have accepted Jesus. Without hope, many people give up and take their own lives. Japan has one of the highest suicide rates of any developed country.
Take away the riches, the culture. The people here, they do need God. They think they don't need God because they have a lot of money, they have a lot of wealth. They don't think they have a need, but they do need Him.
Kaeleen and Lisa long to find a way to share God's love with the people of Japan. They've both signed on for a second term as Adventist Volunteer Services workers, and in their own way, they're reaching out and touching the lives of people in Japan. We may never know here on earth what impact our lives have had on those around us, but may the songs we sing, the prayers we pray, and the words we say draw people closer to Jesus every day. Thank you to the many Adventist volunteers, young and old, who are making a difference in their world. And thank you for supporting the mission offerings each week in your church. To learn more about mission and how you can be a part of it, please visit www.adventistmission.org.
Don't go away. Mission 360 will be right back just after a short break.
Inspire your children to walk in Jesus' steps. Introduce them to young frontline missionaries who take a bold stand for the truth. Your little ones will learn from the true stories of children like them. They'll encounter real challenges and creative solutions to reaching friends for the kingdom. To receive your free copy of Mission Stories for Kids, call us today or visit our website.
Our next guest is Ricky Olivares, a former Adventist volunteer who is now working as a video producer for the Office of Adventist Mission. And he's talking with Yali and with Angela.
Welcome, Ricky.
Thank you. Thanks.
We understand that you went to Thailand as a volunteer missionary.
Yeah, I did. I took a year off of my university, and went to the country of Thailand.
What were you doing there?
In Thailand, I was working as a video producer, or at least that's what I signed up to be. And so I went with a group of medical missionaries, and we followed them around and documented everything they did. So it was a really neat experience and good experience for me as well.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds exciting just saying went to Thailand, but something tells me that there were some difficulties too. What are some of the challenges that you faced?
There were plenty of challenges when I went to Thailand, and one of the big ones was language. You know, the Thai language is so different from English. So just learning a few key words was difficult in itself right at the beginning. But so we were lucky enough to have a few interpreters with us that were able to at least help us with basic conversation and communicating with other people. And another thing was, you know, just the difference in religion. You know, working with a different religion is very difficult as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
And those are the challenges. What are some of the highlights of your experience in Thailand?
Well, some of the highlights, I mean, I could talk about that for days, but just being with the people there, I worked mostly in villages, and the people there are so down to earth, and they're very welcoming, and it's just awesome to spend time with the people in the villages. And so for me, one example of that would be, we went from village to village. You know, every few weeks we'd spend a couple weeks in a village and go to the next village. So it took a lot of energy out of us. So we would walk between villages, would be a 6 or 7 hour hike sometimes.
Wow.
Wow.
And this one time it was a very far village, and so we ended up taking elephants between villages. So we got on the backs of them.
I imagine.
Oh no, yeah, no. Here we, jump in a car, and go somewhere. But it was faster to, we could have gone in a car, and it would have taken a while to get still to the village. But we just cut straight through the jungle and took an elephant. So it was pretty cool.
How long was this trip out there? They had to take an elephant.
Well, we hit about 2 or 3 villages. So in total, it was a 3 or 4 day journey.
Wow.
Wow. Were you pretty sore after that?
Yeah, believe it or not, you get pretty sore when you're on the back of an elephant.
Wow. Now, I'm sure this was an amazing experience while you were there, but coming back, do you feel like this has had any impact on you? How has this changed you?
Well, yeah, I definitely feel like it's changed me. It's one of the toughest experiences that I've ever had in my life, but it was also the most rewarding experience. So it's changed me in ways where I felt like I grew spiritually, where, I went there, somewhat seeking, a deeper relationship with God, knowing I'd be more isolated in a village. And so I really feel like that was one thing personally that I grew in my spiritual walk with God. And that was an awesome thing to come back and, have these experiences, to be able to relate to other people who had been out, to be able to encourage people who hadn't been out, who are on the fence, should I go or should I not go, to be able to share with them my experiences. So it's changed me in so many ways. It's hard to even begin explaining it.
Yeah.
So.
All the missionaries that I talked to have great stories to tell. But was your experience what you expected?
Yes and no. I expected to go to Thailand. I expected, a certain things about it, but there are so many things. It changes constantly, and as a missionary, you have to be flexible, and that was definitely true in my experience. Since I went with a group of medical missionaries, sometimes I even had to put the camera down and get involved when they needed a hand. So.
I imagine that, a reporter putting the camera down.
Yeah, it was interesting. I definitely don't consider myself a doctor, medical, anything, but I had to be flexible. So in that sense, it wasn't what I expected, but that ended up being a really positive experience for me. So. And
you touched on this flexibility. What was the most difficult or different thing that you had to adjust to?
Oh, well, like I said, the language, the culture is just very different in general. So I think just learning, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. Some things that we do here may not be appropriate there. And so that was just something that I had to adjust to. Everybody from that went had to adjust to. And, I can make the list goes on and on of different little things here and there, but overall, you learn these things and you have to be flexible in order to be successful in reaching the people that you go to reach out to.
Yeah.
So.
And of course, you need to know what the differences are so you don't offend people in any way.
Right, yeah.
I remember when I was in Thailand, I was riding this tuk-tuk and a car came by and I was afraid that the car would hit us, so I put my foot out. And then later on, the Thai people were telling me, no, you're not supposed to show the feet, the sole of your feet.
Yeah.
That means you want to pick a fight with somebody. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad I didn't get in trouble.
Yeah, that's a really good example of that. And if you're aware of these things and they see the effort that you're putting into it, they'll respect you more, and they're more willing to listen to what you're saying because we were there to witness to them, be their friend, be at their level, just to spend time with them. And so when they see the effort that you're giving, then they're more receptive and they just want to spend time with you. So that's a big part of it.
Well, it's so interesting hearing your experience, hearing what you went through, what you learned. What would you say to those who are thinking about being a missionary?
I would definitely say, when I was, thinking about it, not sure, the first thing I did was pray. And to me, that's what gave me the clear answer of, you need to go and serve. Right. And so if you're on the fence, if you're thinking about it, pray about it, and God will He'll give you the answer that you may or may not want to hear, but you should follow it regardless.
Yeah, following God is key. Ricky, it was really interesting to listen to your experience. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
It sounds like a cliche, but mission service is always a life-changing experience. From Thailand, let's travel to Romania and see another Adventist volunteer in action.
Games like this are common in elementary schools, but this just isn't any old school. These students live in Romania, a country in the eastern part of Europe. Some 17 years ago, Romania was a communist country, and you never would have heard English being spoken in school. Today, students at the Seventh Adventist School in Bucharest learn to speak English from a special person who has volunteered her time. Her name is Cindy Jackson, and she comes from the country of Australia. Cindy helps young school children feel comfortable when they speak their newly learned dialect. Have you ever tried to speak a new language? It can be hard at first.
What did you find yesterday? I found that in
umbrella. Very good.
Cindy loves teaching so much that this is the second time she's come to Romania to teach. The students in Cindy's classes are quick to ask questions, and they really love it when she goes outside with them to play games. Cindy gets a great feeling of satisfaction from helping children to learn.
They're so much fun to work with. They're always with so much energy and life, and yeah, it's beautiful.
Cindy has even helped the children put on a play so that the other school children can hear them use their newfound language skills. She also helps the children learn about Jesus in her classes. Almost half of the students are not Adventist, so the school is a good place for them to learn about God and His love for us. Isn't it special that people are devoted to helping other people, even halfway around the world? Maybe someday you can go and be a volunteer in an exciting country and help people learn about Jesus. Today, you can do your part by giving your offerings to help support the mission work being done around the world. Wouldn't it be great to meet someone in heaven who was helped by your special gifts?
Beautiful kids who Cindy will never forget. Well, don't go away. Mission 360 will be right back right after this short break. Well, that's about it for today's program. Thanks for joining us here on Mission 360. Around the world today, there are so many people involved in mission. We have global mission pioneers planting new churches in new areas. We have missionaries in so many different countries. And we have Adventist volunteer service workers in so many places, touching so many lives. It can be discouraging at times when you're involved in mission in a foreign land. It can be lonely. So please continue to pray for mission work around the world. And don't forget that you can learn more about mission by just visiting our website at adventistmission.org. That's www.adventistmission.org. There you will find photos, stories, and so much more that tell us about what's happening in mission. I hope you can join us here next time on Mission 360. I'm Gary Krause from the Office of Adventist Mission, and may God continue to richly bless you.
Come with me, take my hand across the sea to foreign lands, sharing love, sharing hope. It's our mission, and we must go. Won't you come along with me? We can set the captives free. We can do it if we dare. The Great Commission is our mission, so come with me. As the years slip away, don't let your fears cloud your way. Countless lives need to know it's our mission, and we must go. Won't you come along with me? We can set the captives free. We can do it if we Great Commission.